Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Wednesday at 1. You can see we are outside today, and where are we? We are at the Laura Riding Jackson house here in Vero Beach. This is Wednesdays at 1. I'm Andrew Galuska, the Director of Music and Fine Arts, and with me today is the one and only Boyd. Welcome, Susan. How are you?
Well, I'm fine, thank you. Isn't it a wonderful day to take a look at our house?
It is wonderful. Thank you for hosting us today.
Well, it's my pleasure.
Susan, you are on the board of the Laura Riding Jackson Foundation, and of course has worked for NBC and knows all of these. She was even telling me about She Touched Mother Teresa. So she has touched a saint, and Susan, you are a saint for doing this. Let's begin our tour today, shall we?
We shall.
Wonderful.
All right. Well, first of all, welcome to the Laura Riding Jackson house. The first thing I'd like to tell you is that it's known as a Florida cracker house, which I'm sure you've all heard that term before. It's also called the Florida vernacular. Just a little bit about its history. It was built, we think, in 1910. This is not the original site. The original site is a few miles north of here in a place called Wabasso, near the railroad tracks.
Okay.
It then got, after Laura Riding Jackson passed away, a foundation started, and they, instead of the house being lost, it was saved, and it was moved about 1.5 miles east to the Environmental Learning Center.
Yep.
About 4 years ago, the Environmental Learning Center decided that they had other things they'd like to do with the property, so we looked around to find out where we could put this beautiful, beautiful cracker house, and Indian River College raised their hands and donated to us this property and this land for the permanent home for Laura Riding Jackson, her home. And it's a wonderful example of how pioneers existed when they first came to Florida.
Look at this beautiful cracker-style home.
In its simplicity, isn't it?
It is absolutely gorgeous.
Gorgeous. And wait till you see the inside.
I can't wait.
But I'd like to point out some features, and then we're going to walk around the house.
Before you do that, I just have to...
Oh, okay.
Someone just came roaming on in. Well, hello, Sean Sexton. How are you today?
Good.
Good. Thank you for being here. Sean is also on the board of the Laura Riding Foundation as well.
And you could call Sean's family really a cracker family in a way, because he's from a pioneer family.
I usually call him that.
Right.
Thank you for being with us, Sean.
Who was one of the original settlers here in Indian River County. So his family has a long history as well here. The main features, if you notice, it has a gorgeous porch.
Yes.
This was really, the pioneers were environmentalists. They came here before air conditioning was even thought of. So they were very brilliant, actually, in the architecture that they chose. And they chose it in order to have enough air conditioning as possible. So one of the things that is typical characteristics of a cracker house, one is a wide porch.
Okay.
And as much porch as possible. And it's deep so that you get out of the shadow of the sun and you can stay cool. Obviously, it has screening on it because of mosquitoes, but we'll get into that in a minute.
And one thing I noticed too, which is really cool about this house, Susan, is it's up on blocks, so the air could go underneath as well.
Absolutely, that's part of the air conditioning, so to speak.
Yeah.
And it's all cracker houses, one of the characteristics is that they're set up on blocks.
Yeah.
Now, in this case, we had to switch over to cinder block.
Okay.
But originally, it was lighter pine, which is like the heart of the pine and very, very dense, and therefore it could hold up a house.
Wow.
We will see an example of that in a minute as we walk around the house.
Okay, cool.
All right. The other thing you will notice let's get a little closer.
Sure.
And you will notice lots of windows.
Oh,
you
yes.
can't see them too well here yet, but when we go inside, you're going to see oversized, what I would call an oversized window.
Okay.
And that's in order to have as many cross breezes as possible.
Okay.
And this house has an interesting architectural feature, which I'm going to show you as we walk around.
Okay, so where we're heading next is just on the side of the house here.
Yep. And the house faces east. It did originally to take advantage of ocean breezes.
Gotcha.
And it faces east now when we put it here.
Very cool.
As well.
It is a beautiful piece of property that
Yes.
that the college
Originally, the house was located in what we call in Florida a hammock, but a hammock is just a forest.
Right.
But it's a forest made out of palm trees and slash pines and those sort of things. Because another important characteristic of a pioneer house or cracker house was to try to build it in the shade.
Of course.
Of
Yep.
course.
Mm-hmm.
You will see that we're building gardens here, planting trees here. So in 20 years, we'll have a lot of shade here as well.
Sure, let's go take a look.
Yes. Notice how the breezes are coming out.
Yes,
You
coming
can
right
see.
out of the window. And
Yeah,
it's
really. It's
this-
quite amazing. It's pretty cool in there, you'll see. And even though it's a warm day, warm sunny day here in Florida.
yes, it is. It's a beautiful day.
Look at this little architectural feature.
So this little cutout.
Right, like a cutout. And the reason why is this is a bedroom, that's the kitchen, and the breezes can go back and forth.
Isn't that
Otherwise, it would be dead wall. There could be no window there.
right?
Kind of interesting, clever.
Absolutely.
They did a lot of the pioneers did a lot of clever things like that to try to make their homes as cool.
Yep.
And I don't mean cool that way, I
Right.
mean cool heat way.
Especially in Florida,
Right,
where
especially in
our
Florida.
summers can be quite brutal.
This is typical homes of Georgia and Florida pioneers.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So if we go around, obviously, now that we're a museum,
Yes.
we put in things that were necessary.
Yep. Handicap ramp.
Yep. And we're just going to take you to the back.
Okay.
Oftentimes, the older cracker houses had detached kitchens. But
Okay.
this one is attached, but you notice it's way in the back. It has its own porch and lots of windows for circulation as well. There's also a window on the other side.
Yep.
And then they could walk right out of their kitchen. And this pole barn was part of the Laura Riding Jackson business, which they were in the fruit business.
Right.
And this was their packing house.
This.
They were writers, that's what they dedicated their life to, but they had to make some money.
Absolutely.
And they made money by growing citrus, and they had maybe close to 1,000 clients up north.
Oh.
So they were located right near the railroad tracks. They would pack their fruit, get it on the train, and send it
So this
to-
was the packing house.
Yeah, this was it. This is the original. We brought this over from the other site on purpose.
And now it's a beautiful spot where you can come and enjoy some lunch. And I see a little park and walkways back there too.
Yes, we have a beautiful garden that we've attached to the house because it used to be in a hammock. And also, we invite the children to come over and picnic. Oftentimes, we find families here picnicking. It's a perfect spot for meetings if you want to hold your meetings outdoors as well. And
Now, can the public just come here and enjoy
the
this
public
space?
can come and enjoy it. If you want to have a meeting because of space or that sort of thing, we just ask people to reserve,
Gotcha. Wonderful.
which is an easy process.
Let's continue on.
Yes.
And I'm just going to give the folks at home
Yep,
a
just-
shot of the back of the house. This little bump out area is the kitchen.
Yes, and another thing which is a characteristic of all cracker houses,
Yes.
is a tin roof.
And a tin roof.
Yes.
Yes.
You don't see regular roofs; they're always tin roofs.
Wow.
Now, this roof had to be replaced after the 2004 hurricanes.
Okay.
But because it was located in an area that had lots of dense forestry, the house itself wasn't damaged at all, even though it was only a few hundred feet from the lagoon.
That is amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. So the only thing that had to be done is the roof.
Wonderful. We are here today with Susan Boyd, and we are at the home of Laura Riding Jackson. Let's
Okay.
continue on our tour, shall we, Susan?
Yes, we shall come around to the back, and I'm going to show you the lighter pine. And
Okay.
maybe Sean can explain that a little bit.
Oh, here he is. Okay. I thought we lost him.
Oh, by the way, we did put a series of historical
Oh,
signs,
look at this.
which were the Community Foundation of Indian River County gave us the money to do this.
Sure.
And so if you come out here and there's no one here, there's lots of information for you
Yep,
to learn.
I'm just going to scan
Right.
here. Look at this beautiful sitting area and all about Laura Riding Jackson.
Yes. She was very well known, very famous. Her papers are now at Cornell.
Are now at Cornell.
Yeah, and
That's right.
some are at Harvard as well. Both
Oh,
places.
terrific.
Yes.
So what are we looking at here?
This is the one of the original lighter pine logs. It would have been buried, fairly deep.
Oh, so this is what originally...
And you can see, originally the house
held
sat
the house,
on
yeah.
several, maybe 20 of these or so, Sean, at least.
So it was actually wood that held
Yes.
up these cracker houses.
The
That's
house,
amazing.
Yeah, the house itself and the flooring. Well, I'll explain that in a minute when we go inside.
Okay,
with the
sounds
house
good.
itself. Just go right around, and then we can go inside.
Sure. Now, I like these hurricane shutters.
Yes. Some of these are original, and then some were made by volunteers for us. And so we were very safe, sound, and secure during the hurricane season this summer.
Now, did you put these up, or would this have been typical of a cracker style?
Yes, the knobs that you see were all there.
Is that
so
right?
yeah, and we had some of the shutters, and what we didn't have were made. So those of you that are looking for a simple, easy way to protect your home, use the old Florida cracker.
This is the old
I
Florida?
basically do, in a way, in my house.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. I just didn't paint them. I think it's a good idea to paint them.
Well, you can write messages on
Yeah,
them, too.
you can write. Well, you'll see we did out front. I'll show you when
Oh,
you come
cool.
in. Yep. And then this is just the side.
Yep.
This here, this was an add-on room. This was added on in the early 1950s.
Yes.
Laura had the idea that perhaps her mother would come and live with them.
Okay.
She did come and lasted a few weeks, but you can imagine being way out in a hammock in the hot weather. She didn't really last very long. So, and they also put a bathroom in too.
Yep.
And up until then, they used an outdoor privy.
Is
up
that
until then,
right? The
which-
bathroom
yes.
is new.
Yes, the bathroom is new from the 50s.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. When they first, and they never had electricity. But we'll get into that in a minute.
Okay, cool. Let's continue on.
Yes. This then became her husband's, Skylar's
Yep.
office.
Yep. I'm just going to show the folks at home so you can see what's on cinder blocks now would have been wood, and you can see right clear all the way through.
Yeah.
And that was done for air conditioning, if you will.
Definitely. I mean, in the old days, they might have some chickens or stuff living under there, so they weren't getting into the house, yet that they were protected. Also, when we go inside, you'll see the floor slats are not totally joined together, and you just swept and the sand went down. I mean, literally, I looked that up to make sure that was true, and it is true.
And that was
is
done
true.
on purpose.
Yes, yeah, it is true.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Let's continue on.
All right.
It's a beautiful day today here in Vero Beach, Florida. We hope wherever you're watching us from that you are having a wonderful day. I know most of the country's kind of cold. Here we're actually going into the house now.
Now, if you read a book, I suggest you read Cross Creek. And if you read Cross Creek, they'll tell you, you'll read the tales of that your window screens could be totally blackened out by mosquitoes.
Oh,
And so what you had to do was you'd have like a piece of palm or something brushy, and you'd wipe them off the screen, and you'd run into the house and close the screen door to try to avoid them.
Wow.
That's how bad. So it wasn't just the air conditioning; it was mosquitoes that they really, really battled. quite a
wow.
bit. Yeah.
I bet the love bugs were not fun either.
Well, I've never read about the love bugs. I know they're not fun nowadays.
I'm just going to take a picture here.
Yes. Now this I was telling you, we did decorate one of them, and this was the idea of Elliot Jones, I believe, to decorate one of our hurricane shutters. Mm-hmm. And
There's Laura Riding
Yes.
Jackson, right on this very porch.
right on this very porch.
And is she in? Nope, this is a different rocker.
Yes, we are looking for a good bentwood. If anybody knows of one, we would love to get a replacement rocker.
Wonderful. Terrific. And you can see we're just on this little open
Yeah.
air porch here. And you can see that the college is all around us. I'm just giving you a nice view here. And let's go into the
Yes.
house.
So this is all, this is a replacement floor, but it's also in yellow pine.
Yellow pine.
So we took the expense to get the right flooring so it would match. The house is basically done in yellow pine. Notice that there's no, the tin roofs were just put right on the joists.
Wow.
There's no insulation or anything like that. You can see the bare nails.
And original timber here?
Yeah, this is all original.
All original.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
just the tin that had to be replaced.
Yes. Mhm.
Eventually, it looks like we'll have a few others to replace.
Yeah, I can see
But
that.
this house is, we think it was built in 1910. It may have been built earlier, definitely not later than 1910.
Wow.
This is some of the original furniture.
Okay.
And as we go in, the thing to notice to me is just you can't smell it over the video, but just the smell of an old wood and an old place. It just has that really cool feeling.
Yep. Here we go, folks.
Here we go.
Into the house.
There's no lighting.
There's no electricity. There's
No.
wow.
There was lighting at one time. When she got into her late 80s, the Visiting Nurses Society wouldn't come because they were afraid to come way into this hammock. She lived quite a ways off the road and insisted that she get electrified, which she did do until, and then once she passed away and we moved the house, it was never electrified again.
So when did she move out of this house?
Well, she died in 1991, and they moved in here in 1943.
So she remained in this house her whole life?
Yes.
Basically, about her whole life.
Like later adult life. Her husband, Schuyler, died in the 60s, and then she was left alone for that amount of time.
You guys,
she lived pretty much in poverty in many ways.
For being such a brilliant writer and poet.
And then people in the community, people helped her. Accountants, people like that helped her to get Social Security, the Visiting Nurses Association, the doctors. And these are all people that really, really loved her. And we've interviewed them all. And we have everybody's testimony about what it was like to be Laura's accountant or her lawyer and that sort of thing.
Very cool,
really
very cool.
Yeah.
Now, what is cool too, guys, is as I'm standing in this door and all the windows are open, it's actually very breezy in here.
It's amazing. They really had the idea. Plus, in this house, and it's true of some other cracker houses, they have a second story.
I can see that
like
by
a
these
clear
stairs.
story, so the heat rises, and then you'll notice it has very generous windows up top on both ends, so that you can get the breezes going through or the hot air escaping.
It's amazing.
So maybe we'll do a quick jot up there because I think the ceiling and everything is really cool.
Sure.
And then we'll come down and look at the other.
You got it. Let's go. So we're going to head upstairs. Now, in a cracker house, typically the upstairs is not used except for maybe storage.
Yes.
Just simply because it would be practically unbearable with the heat, because they built it so tall, heat rises, and it would be stored up in here. You can see the windows. And you can see this is kind of used as a storage room, and
we do now.
I think some original pieces are up here too.
Yes, we do repair here. There was a bed up here. We do know that sometimes there are guests. I think in the wintertime you probably would actually sleep in this room.
Okay.
We do know that.
Yeah, it's not terribly bad today.
But what I love about this room is just the way this all looks, the ceiling and the way the light comes in and on the tin roof.
And it's all original, yes?
Yeah, all original. Yeah. And the floor is original. Now, it wasn't made for a lot of load bearing. It doesn't meet modern standards.
Sure.
So we wouldn't ever use it for very much.
Look at this. You can see the windows, the front windows, and then if I turn around, the back windows, and they would have been open for ventilation to help cool the house.
Yes.
Terrific. And we're going to head back down now. It's quite a big house, really.
It's extraordinarily big. It's big enough for a lot of people to live in. Okay, so this house has two big rooms.
Okay.
This is the first room, obviously.
Which would have been maybe a sitting room.
Sort of like a sitting room or maybe a parlor. And there's a storage under here.
Under the closet, under the stairs.
Under the staircase, which everybody has. And off of this room is the original bedroom, and it was Laura's bedroom up until she died.
Oh, this is...
And these are her things. So her glasses, her clock.
Oh, look at it.
These are her clothing, all of her clothing, which we've inventoried and keep track of.
She was tiny.
Yes, yeah, she was tiny.
Wow.
Yeah.
Her clothing, her umbrella.
Yes.
Oh, wonderful.
Nice?
And here's just another picture of Laura on the wall there. What I think is kind of cool is I see some lipstick here.
Yes, and this is her things.
These are all Laura's things as well.
And this is these photographs were taken when just before the house was moved the first time.
Gotcha.
So they're from the 1990s.
Very cool. Look at this old clock here. Laura's bed. Her glasses. And look, we forgot.
Her slippers.
Her slippers are still here.
Yes.
Right at her bedside.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
It was all kind of special to us.
This is a good sized bedroom, actually.
It is, yes.
And again, you have a window here.
Which I didn't know. If I had opened those two windows,
here.
you can imagine how breezy it would be in here.
Yeah,
right now.
and then another, three windows that would allow a great breeze to come through. Beautiful.
It's not quite. A lot of them are like what they call shotguns. So there's like a central hallway. This one diverges a little bit, but you can, when you walk in right here, you can see out the back. So it sort of has that idea.
Okay,
Because that's
yep.
what helps with your air circulation.
Sure.
Yeah.
So we are here in the sitting room or parlor. Oh, I'm just going to get a couple of shots of these. Oh, if I can get a good non-reflective one. So that's out on the porch. And then here's some more, if I can get that reflection going, of the parlor. And you can see the lamp up there.
Oh, the lamp. Oh, boy, would we like to go. They had, they used all propane and gas and everything.
Wow.
This is where they sat, one on each end.
Okay.
This is what's told to me by her biographer. One on each end, and they would sit across from each other, and where they would do all of their writing, and because they wrote a book together,
Yes.
Rational Meaning, and they're very interested in the actual meanings of words,
Correct.
which would be important today, wouldn't it? Because to communicate, that was her biggest thing. How do we communicate with each other if we don't have the same definition for a word?
Correct. Now, I also heard that Laura Riding wanted one word with one meaning.
Yeah, that's yes.
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 One word in the English language, we have many words that mean
Yes.
many different things.
Right.
She wanted one word with one meaning,
Yes.
which is very interesting.
So that we could be clear.
So we could be clear.
This obviously is like their sitting room. Now, they were here during the war, and they bought their house during the war. That was one of the things that contributed to not having electricity, because they couldn't get it anyway.
Sure.
And then they lived with it for so long, they decided never to get it, which I think is kind of interesting.
I love that. I love the idea.
Yeah. This is the kind of filing system that they used for their words.
Oh,
The cards, all the definitions, almost all of them now are at Cornell.
well, at Cornell University. Now, is this someone's typewriter?
This is not the original typewriter.
Okay.
When we get an original, we will replace that.
Okay.
With something like that.
Gotcha. But we can
Yeah.
see here some of Laura's books
Yeah.
right here, going across.
If you notice, there's a lot of bookshelves. Most of the books, because they had her notes in it, or Schuyler's notes, they wrote in the books,
Yes.
went off to Cornell
Of course.
because they have historical meanings.
And they can preserve them and keep them in a controlled environment too.
Okay, so,
And
now fireplace.
Was this her chair?
Yes, we've had them reupholstered, and
Yep.
there's one other that's out for having been reupholstered. So there were
Okay.
two here. If you look at some of the old photos, you'd see piles of magazines and books and that sort of thing. If you're going to
Laura
read something of
Schuyler.
hers, we suggest 4 unposted letters to Catherine.
Okay.
We suggest that. All her books are in the library, plus we sell quite a bit of them or loan them out to people at the office.
I don't know that one, and I'll
and
be
this is
happy
the
to read
rational
that.
meaning that we were talking about.
Yep, that they wrote together.
Yes, yeah. It was going to be something else entirely, but they realized a lifetime wasn't enough to do what they really planned on doing, was to actually write a dictionary.
Correct.
Yeah.
It takes a couple of years, don't you think?
And almost all cracker houses, it does get cold in the winter, as we've learned
Yeah.
this winter.
Yes, we
And
have.
so they had a fireplace that they used to keep warm. Unfortunately, when we moved the house, this time we couldn't save, we had to build a new chimney.
Yep.
We couldn't save the bricks. Though we do have some original bricks, but we couldn't really save them to build the
Okay.
chimney.
How about inside here? Is this new brick as well?
No, I believe this is the original.
This is the original
I believe
inside
so.
here.
Yeah.
Amazing. What a simple but beautiful and complex life.
Yeah.
2 brilliant people living and working together.
I know. Very famous writers and people would come here to visit them, and nobody
Yeah.
really knew that. They'd
In
come
this-
from like all over the world.
All over the world to come visit
Yeah.
them here in their grove, their orange, their citrus grove, and stay in this beautiful cracker house. Now, cracker, where does that come from?
Why not let Sean talk about that for a second.
Well, I have to have that
It will stand next.
to be heard.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
The main idea is that the whips were used to drive cattle.
Okay.
And you could hear somebody bringing cattle up the trail or up the road, by the sound of the cow whips, and so you've heard me crack my whip in the.
Yeah, several times at me.
But anyway, that's the primary in the Florida sense of the word.
So it comes from the sound that the whip makes,
Yeah,
the crack
that's
of
right,
the whip that was driving the cattle.
That's right.
Interesting.
And you can hear that whip a long.
You
hear
can.
that. You can hear that a long ways.
Sure.
Away, so it's pretty powerful. There are other theories about it that I've read, but that's the one that we generally use here in Florida.
Cool.
Some people think
Thank you,
that it's a insult, but I've asked Sean very many times. People who are natives to Florida do not consider it an insult, and but now officially they call these houses Florida vernacular.
Florida vernacular homes.
In other words, arising out of this culture, this environment, like a language does.
Yes.
This architecture did.
Isn't that interesting that we're standing in a writer's house?
Yeah.
And we're talking about that. I'm just going to give the folks a shot of this beautiful ceiling too.
It's gorgeous.
All original, right, guys?
Yes, everything's original here.
Unbelievable.
The one thing that isn't, but you wouldn't know it, is this particular wall by the fireplace.
Okay, I didn't know.
But it was redone with the same wood very recently, and we had an expert come in to do the color for us.
Okay.
So you almost can't tell.
And was that because it was damaged?
Yes, it was so damaged that we had to replace it.
Gotcha.
Water and wind were getting in and that sort of thing. So
Sure.
it had to be replaced.
And we can see they lived quite simply, didn't they?
Did. They lived very, very
If
simply.
you can see just how rustic everything is, their furniture. And here's the poems of Laura Riding Jackson. And here is Skylar and
Yeah.
Laura.
They're in their work clothes. That's what they did primarily to make money. And once Skylar passed away, it was very difficult.
Do you know the year that Skylar passed away?
I want to say 67, but I can't remember precisely.
So she lived quite a bit after him.
Yeah, a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's just go in the kitchen.
Okay. Did you whip up some lunch for us?
Yes. And let me see.
Fried chicken? Oh, look at this.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now,
How cool is this kitchen,
it
folks?
really. Now think of this. Even before they didn't have running water, they had a pump. They were set up for a well. So they didn't have hot water either. So this is where before they had the bathroom, this is where Skylar would shave. She even talks about that. Yes. She has some stuff that she wrote letters to friends of hers about this house. And one of the things she talks about is that the kitchen has turned out to become Skylar's favorite place.
To hang out.
Yeah, to hang out and shave.
Shave.
And stuff like that. Recently, we had all the porcelain redone.
Yep. Look at this.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Still, folks, all original. Do you mind if I open the cabinet?
No, not at all.
Okay, well, let's see what...
We haven't done any rehabbing for it yet.
Look at here, in a time of COVID, someone was hiding
Toilet paper.
toilet paper.
That's a surprise.
Even here at the Laura Riding Jackson house in Vero Beach. Look at how cool. Now, are these, did we find these in
No,
the
they're
house?
sort of replicants, but I believe this was found. And then we've added to it,
Oh,
the
cool.
Dundees.
Dundee's marmalade. How cool is that? Wonderful. And you can see where that is just the back entrance here. Another window. Windows everywhere, as you can see.
Now, she had, where you're standing right now, and where
Yes.
the fire extinguisher was a refrigerator. And we're looking for a propane refrigerator.
A propane refrigerator.
When she got ill and the visiting nurses came, they made her get rid of that, electrify, and bring in an electric refrigerator for her, for reliability, her
Safety,
age,
too.
safety,
Yeah.
all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And they always had, I believe, a propane stove.
Is this
I don't know.
the actual stove?
We don't know if that's the actual stove, but it does have a pipe coming up from the floor where you could have had your propane and it
Gotcha.
could have been attached to it.
You can see here, also I'm going to show you, in the kitchen,
Here's also a photo.
vaulted ceiling as well. And her
You can imagine when it
workspace here.
rains, what it must sound like in here. Got to come over one day.
Have you ever been here
No,
when it
not when
rains?
there's a tropical rainstorm. No, it must
Ooh.
be thunderous.
It must be,
It
because
just must be.
that is the roof right there, folks.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's another characteristic, by the way, steep roofs, so that the rain does slide right off.
Mm-hmm.
So that's another characteristic, the tin roof and steep roofs.
Well, they probably would have collected rainwater. Maybe?
It's that's a possibility, but I have not read about them having. However, you go to many places where the older houses are, and you will see cisterns.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I've seen them. I've traveled around Florida, so a lot of little communities and bigger operations used cisterns.
Terrific.
That's what they did.
Wow.
Yeah, they didn't have running water.
Right. As we're learning here. Now, here is a picture
Yes.
of her
Yeah.
kitchen and how she had it set up. And you see it's very,
We
very
do have
similar.
some of her original dishes. We also have a cabinet, a beautiful cabinet over in the library that has a lot of our, a lot of things that belong to her that we put on display at the library
Very cool.
here on the campus.
Here on the campus.
Yes.
Look at this old Quaker Oats tin. Wow. And also ginger wafers in the back from Nabisco. Wow.
Been
Very
around for a
cool.
long time.
It has been. So this, I imagine, would have held a gas lamp.
Yes. All of her heating was done by gas lamp.
Gas lamp. Oh, look at this. You got to see this,
Yeah.
folks. Cut okra. Look at that.
They shopped at a small store not too far from Wabasso. There are people in the community now that remember Jackson and waiting outside while Laura would be inside doing the shopping.
Is that right?
Yeah.
He wouldn't go in.
I don't know, but he would wait outside and she did the shop. They had an old truck, I believe, that they would put stuff in.
These two brilliant
Yeah.
writers.
Yeah, they were very humble.
Very, very humble and citrus growers.
He was very well known, you know. He
Yeah,
worked-
of course.
yeah,
He worked for Time, right?
Time magazine.
Time
yeah,
magazine.
he was
yeah.
their
Poetry
literary,
critic, yeah.
literary and poetry editor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Unbelievable, right?
yeah, it is.
That they moved to
amazing.
Florida and wanted to grow citrus and develop their art down here.
They were very much into the environment. They used no pesticides whatsoever when they
Mm-hmm.
grew their oranges. They used to write little handwritten notes when they'd send them up north, saying, "Don't worry, this doesn't look like it's perfect, but it has no pesticides and it's going to taste great."
That is
So
amazing.
they were way ahead of their time when
Yeah.
it came to pesticides and growing organically.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that's
Great.
right.
Let's continue on with the house.
So we have 2 more places to see.
Okay. Oh, what a beautiful breeze.
Don't mind the step stool, please. All right, so opposite, this is what they added on.
Here's
So-
her bedroom.
Right.
And right across.
Is Skylar Jackson's office, what he used as an office.
Okay.
It was to be her mother's bedroom.
Right, but Mom didn't
Right.
want to stay down.
So now he has an office.
So he has an office here.
Right. That was his desk and chair. We know that. This furniture, some of it's upstairs being repaired, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So this was the furniture. The rug has an interesting history. I'm not totally familiar with it. It's donated to us,
Okay.
but it's over 100 years old, and we do know they had a rag rug in here,
Gotcha.
and then somebody.
And this is a rag rug.
This is a rag rug.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes.
Let's take a look at his desk. This was his desk, right?
Yes.
This was Skylar's desk.
If you look at photographs, you'll see tons of books around, other tables, papers. It didn't look this stark.
Wonderful.
Now,
And
this room is not made out of pine, it's Pecky cypress because it was the war and they couldn't get everything that they needed. Mm-hmm. So it's Pecky cypress, and then they put what they call sellotape over the top of it so it disguised the pecky part of the cypress.
oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
It is different, and I guess
Yeah.
this window here would have been the outside of
Yep.
the original house.
Yeah.
Very cool.
No, this would be an add-on. I see what you're saying. I'm pretty sure. Wouldn't that be an add-on? Yeah, this whole little wing here is added on.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
and the bathroom, too, over here.
yeah, that's what I want to see because before, what'd you say, 1950?
Yes. They used
1950,
an
they were
outhouse.
still using the outhouse.
Yes. So for about 10 years or so, they lived here with just an outhouse.
Just an outhouse, and then they modernized, and voila! Look at this luxurious bathroom.
We had the tub resurfaced. We're still looking for the claw feet. We do have people that are
Oh,
looking
yep, the
for the
claw
claw
feet
feet
are
for
missing.
us. We know exactly what type we're supposed to have, and we have
Okay.
people looking for it for us.
Look at this. And again, a gas lamp holder to have light in here.
And you can see the result of the electrician having come in. If you notice, you do see these around, but she asked, please make sure you can't really see the wires. And
didn't want to see the wires.
He did such a wonderful job. In the other rooms, you don't even notice them anymore because he painted them brown and put them in corners.
She didn't want that electricity in here, did she?
No.
Very cool. And I think this is maybe a piece of pajama. And look at all of these. Vicks Vapor Rub. Every bathroom has Vicks.
Still, yeah.
Still. Look at the old Vaseline jar. Awesome. Blue ribbon. Look at that. Absolutely amazing. Terrific. And this is the original tub, right?
That's the original tub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the original plunger? There are two.
It could be. I mean, literally,
Really?
it could be because we've never, it's not, the house hasn't had running water for years and years and years, so it's never used.
Wow.
So
you
it
can come
be.
here and see the original plunger, folks, to the Laura Riding Jackson house. Terrific. Here's their bathroom that was added on in the 1950s.
And here's a little secret thing I found one day. Look at this.
It blends
The pencil
right in.
sharpener, I know. I didn't even notice it for quite a long time.
Look at their pencil sharpener.
Right outside his office.
Right outside. Yep. I bet they used
I bet they did use a lot of pencils.
I bet they went through a lot of pencils.
Yeah.
Look at how beautiful, folks. Now, if people wanted to come and tour the house during this time of COVID, what do they need to do?
They just need to call the office, which is open almost from 9 to 5 days a week. Unfortunately, I don't know the phone number offhand.
Okay.
But
there is a website.
Oh, yeah, there's a website. Go to LRJF.org.
Yep, .org.
Everything you want to know is there. Just call. In fact, for example, some people called, and I'm doing a tour on Friday for a couple of people.
Terrific.
So we do arrange tours for people in time of COVID.
Wonderful. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for just this very short but beautiful and informative tour of one of the great literaries based right here.
Right now.
It's right here in Vero Beach.
A well-kept secret that we don't want to be a secret anymore.
Correct. Well, thank you for doing this. Sean, you have something in your hand.
So, what do you think?
Yes.
Shall I read one of her poems?
Please, while we're in her sitting room and her house, absolutely.
Oh, that's okay. Why don't we go out here?
Okay, sounds good.
And I'll just go and sit in that chair over there.
That's a good idea.
And be right next to her?
And be right next to her.
That sounds good. Look at how beautiful it is out here, folks. Yep.
The poem is called Dimensions.
Yep. We're going to need the microphone close to you.
Okay. Let's see. You might flip it for me, Susan.
There we
So
go.
are we loud and clear?
You're great.
This is called Dimensions. This is one of my favorite poems, and I think this may have been the very first poem she had published.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Does it have a year on it?
It does not on this. No, I would say 1923, though.
Wow.
Possibly. Dimensions. Measure me for a burial, that my low stone may neatly say, in a precise Euclidean way, how I am three-dimensional. Yet can life be so thin and small? Measure me in time, but time is strange and still, and knows no rule or change, but death, and death is nothing at all.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Measure me by beauty, but beauty is death's earliest name. For life and life's first dying, a flame that glimmers, an amaranth that will fade, and fade again in death's dim shade. Measure me not by beauty that fears strife, for beauty makes peace with death, buying dishonor and eternal dying, that she may keep outliving life. Measure me then by love, yet no, for I remember times when she sought her own measurements in me, but fled, afraid I might foreshow how broad I was myself, and tall, and deep and many measured, moving my scale upon her, and thus proving that both of us were nothing at all. Measure me by myself, and not by time or love or space or beauty. Give me this last grace, that I may be on my low stone a gauge unto myself alone. I would not have these old faiths fall, to prove that I was nothing at all.
Beautiful, Sean.
Isn't it amazing? She was amazing.
Fabulous poem.
I also think of her lots of times as an American philosopher.
Mm-hmm.
Her poetry has a lot of philosophy in it. She wasn't just a poet. She wrote essays. She wrote many things like that.
Yeah.
And she was just extraordinarily talented and brilliant.
Brilliant.
Just brilliant is
Both
the
of
word.
them. Both
yeah,
of them.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. She had a brilliance that was quite amazing. I encourage people to read about her. Look her up. She was quite